The media are tilting against Donald Trump, at least according to New York Times media columnist Jim Rutenberg, who acknowledged that in a piece this week and appeared to justify it, saying this is the situation facing journalists. If you view a Trump presidency as something that's potentially dangerous, then your reporting is going to reflect that. You would move closer than you've ever been to being oppositional. And that's acceptable, says Rutenberg. Quote, it would be an abdication of political journalism's most solemn duty to ferret out what candidates will be like in the most powerful office in the world. It may not always seem fair to Mr. Trump or his supporters. Joining us now from Charlottesville, Virginia, Larry Sabato, director of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia. So, Larry, do you agree with the premise here that there has been a definite media tilt against Donald Trump?
Yes. I don't think there's any question about that. But look, Howie, there was a media tilt against Mitt Romney. There was a media tilt against John McCain. There was a media tilt against George W. Bush. It has more to do with party and personal characteristics of journalists than anything else. All
right, so you believe that the press is generally unfair of Republican presidential candidates, but of course I've never seen anything like this level of vitriol, and some of it may be caused by Trump with the statements he makes. So here's the argument, and Jim Rutenberg is a good reporter. The New York Times put this column on the front page. Reporters think Trump is dangerous, or would be dangerous as president, and it's their patriotic duty to stop him, except they're not commentators, they're not activists, they're reporters.
Yeah. See, I think that's a very important distinction. If you're a commentator or a pundit, you can say whatever you want, and the Chiron should read analysis. That's what you're doing, or analysis on a newspaper headline. But if you are a straight reporter, if you're supposed to just report the facts of what's happening at a particular event, then I think it's more problematic.
Well, I ask you about all this because people don't know that you have a minor degree in press criticism. You once wrote a book called Feeding Frenzy. This Rutenberg column quotes a top political editor at the New York Times, Carolyn Ryan, as saying that Trump's candidacy is extraordinary and precedent-shattering, and to pretend otherwise is to be disingenuous with readers. Now, I'm not arguing for false equivalency here. If Trump says 4 disputed things and Hillary says 1, so be it. That's the way we cover it. But when you talk about being close to oppositional, it seems to almost be coming out and saying publicly that some journalists, many journalists, believe that they have to be tougher on Trump because of the nature of his candidacy. Your thoughts?
Well, the political party is the other political party is the opposition to Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton is the oppositional candidate. The press is not the oppositional party, and they shouldn't pretend to be the oppositional party. What they will say, and I agree with them in part, this campaign, the Trump campaign, has no precedent, Howie. There's nothing in American political history like it. I don't know why he doesn't adopt the theme song from the real chairman of the board, Frank Sinatra, My Way, because he's doing everything his way. And it is difficult even to adjust to if you've been covering politics for a while.
Yeah, well, his way obviously worked in the primaries, but he's having a tougher time in general election. He has been stepping up the rhetoric against the press. Let me play you something that he said at a rally just the other day.
The media is unbelievably dishonest. I would actually say that the media is almost as crooked Hillary Clinton.
Do you think that these kinds of attacks on the press, which are intensifying, as I say, help Donald Trump?
Howie, they're counterproductive, and you know that. You've got such a long history in the press. First of all, he makes no distinctions between and among members of the press. Reporters are human beings. This will come as a shock to some people, but reporters are human beings, and while they steel themselves to a certain degree against criticism, still, it's a lot when you have a candidate pointing you out in rallies filled with thousands and thousands of activists and saying you're evil, you're crooked, you're bad, and then you have individual Trump supporters coming up and screaming and yelling at them while they're trying to do their jobs. That is wrong, and he's encouraging it, and he needs to stop it in his own interests.
Even in individual news organizations, there are fair reporters, there are not so fair reporters, there are commentators. I do agree that those distinctions should be made. Larry Sabato, great to see you this Sunday from Virginia.